You want to watch number 8 this weekend because you're going to see him. DeAndre Hopkins is officially a Chief and practiced in the whole 9 yards, and he's ready because it's Raider week. Here we go. Welcome to Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Appreciate you being in. It's a fun day. We're brought to you by Prize Picks. Go out to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use our code LockedOnNFL. It's all one word to win $50 instantly as soon as you play $5. Super simple. Go check out Prize Picks. We have a lot to cover here. We're going to do our normal show today. This is Chris Clark from Chiefs Corner. Over here, I'm thumbing the right direction. You can go get him and his work at Chiefs Digest. I'm sorry, not Chiefs Digest, at KC Chiefs Corner, because that's where he belongs. I'm over at NFL33.com, where I dropped a piece yesterday. I think you guys will dig it. It's about what's going on that isn't Pat Mahomes related, because QB1 is QB1. You need to see more, and you can find more, all my breakdowns and all my staff over at RGR Football. Make sure that you are set up because we're ready to go.
I was just going to say, and I just put a piece out on DeAndre Hopkins, his cost, the compensation with trade value and his salary cap. Still kind of wondering how that's going to work out, because right now it looks like they're over the cap, which obviously isn't accurate, but got to see how that plays out and all the information. Yeah, math. And math,
you got to have all the numbers
when it comes to that.
Right. Somebody's reported something inaccurately, or they have a move that's underway. If you want more information than we give you right here on all of our platforms, you can get it 816-357-8781. Get over there. Check out our other sites. We appreciate you. We're going to give you the X factors to this game, as well as our predictions. That's coming up later in the show. Before that, we're going to light you up on all the must-win matchups in this ball game, and we're going to start at the top of the show with the top of the hop, because DeAndre Hopkins is here. He is a real thing, a real person in a Chiefs uniform. And I know it's Raiders week, but this has been the top story all week because of this, because it changes everything. We'll talk his impact. Looks like you're ready to talk right now. Go.
I just have to say, everybody's been clamoring all season for number 8 to come out and go catch jump balls from Patrick Mahomes. You get to see it this weekend.
I don't know if it's going to be jump balls, but yeah, you're gonna see 8 catch passes this weekend. It's just sorry, Justin,
I couldn't resist.
It's not going to be what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And this is not a slight against Justin Ross. I get a lot of people asking me, why didn't you bring up Ross? Well, because of all the things that we've said over time, none of that's changed, evidently, or they would have. So going out to get Hopkins has been what they felt they needed to do. And I thought it was very evident from today, the way everything was addressed. For the first time in my memory, there's been a player that has been acquired and arrived in Kansas City, and within 12 hours, Andy Reid's like, hey, we're going to play him. Why not? Like, I've never heard that from him. That tells you what his veteran experience does and what Andy Reid thinks of this player in particular.
I think it actually goes farther than that for me, because you start looking at it and thinking about Hopkins in general, and it's not just the veteran presence, but I think Reid is tired of seeing the offense struggle at times. And I think that he feels like this is going to be a way that's going to give them a little bit of a jump start, pun somewhat intended on that, in this game and in the rest of the season, because they have a wide receiver that they can go trust to throw the jump ball to go throw contested catch balls to, somebody that can step in there and give them a veteran presence. And nothing against Justin Watson. He has his place on this team, but he's not DeAndre Hopkins, and Justin Watson isn't going to scare teams. He can be a complementary piece. He can't be the piece. DeAndre Hopkins, even though he isn't the same player he was in the past, can be the piece. And I think that's a big, big add for this team.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And in terms of fitting into the offense, what he had to say is, hey, I'll do whatever y'all want me to do. Like, I've admired Pat from afar, whatever. I thought he was very contrite in his presser. But here's the bottom line. He knows it all. Is he as explosive as he was 2 seasons ago? Probably not. He's still a 1,000-yard receiver last year with quarterback play that I would call bargain bin, if not worse. So I think that goes toward it. And the number one thing is, what are defenses trying to do? They tried to man up Xavier Worthy, and they got burnt that way. You're going to see a little bit of man from the Raiders this week, but you're going to see a lot of zone. And in space, DeAndre Hopkins understands all the angles, all the plays, all the stutters. His release work is still excellent. So it's not going to be field stretching. It's not going to be, huge chunk plays. But you could get 20, 25 yards to DeAndre Hopkins. He can run the intermediate drags that we know have been missing from this offense. He can do the underneath work if you need it. He's going to run out of the slot. He'll run out wide some as well, but he can do it all. And most importantly, I think for the overall offense, it gives a defense someone to look at that isn't named Travis Kelce. And it opens everything up because you can't ignore everyone but Trav and maybe double cover the top of Xavier Worthy.
I disagree a little bit. I think that he's not going to give you the 20 to 25-yard plays. I think he's going to be a guy that's going to be living in the 10 to 20-yard zone. And I think that's going to be the focus. And I don't think, his difference, he's going to play a lot like the Rashee Rice role. The difference is he doesn't have the same speed and cut ability Rice has, so he's not going to get the yak yardage. He's going to catch the ball, probably maybe get 1 or 2 yards and go down. That's fine. It can still move the sticks. It can still be effective. That's what this Chiefs team needs. And I think the bigger question I have is, obviously he'll play this weekend against the Raiders. I don't know how much he'll play this weekend. Are they going to get him involved in the first 15 plays? Are they going to get him involved in the red zone in 2-minute drill? What's their focus? Because it obviously can't be the full playbook. It obviously can't be the full game plan for this week. He's going to only have enough time to probably get subsets of plays in. So are you going to get him in? Do you want him in the 2-minute offense, which I don't think is really going to be a big thing this week? We'll talk about that later. But do you want him? I would want him in the red zone. Like if I'm Andy Reid, I'm focusing him on getting him in on the first 15 plays, and you can reuse those plays throughout the game and get him involved in the red zone, get him involved in that offense and what you're planning on doing, and put him to work there because that's where you need the most help.
I think that part you're absolutely right on. I'm going to be more optimistic on the yak aspect for two reasons.
Possibly.
One, he's got extremely better quarterback play that will put him in position to probably have more room to achieve some yak. And he had a quote today over on NFL Network, and this says it all to me. And this is the reason why I'm a little bit more optimistic. He said, quote, knowing that you're playing for something, it takes your game to a different level. I haven't played for meaningful football since a couple of years when we started 8-0 in Arizona. So it takes your game to a different level, unquote. That's significant to me because he knows he's over 30. He knows he's at the tail end of his career. He knows he can afford to let it all burn out right now in chasing a ring. And I think this is the ideal situation for him.
It's going to be a great situation. I'm looking forward to it. And I do think that this is a big piece. I'm curious to see if Kansas City is going to still do more because what we haven't talked about when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins is they had to open up a roster spot. Sky Moore went to IR, and I know people are going to say not a big loss, but that still leaves you with only 4 healthy receivers for this game. And who knows how long Juju is going to be out. They haven't put him on IR, so it's possible they think it's going to be shorter than the Mike Evans injury in Tampa Bay, but still something to watch.
Cue the rumors. We'll address those as well as the must-win matchups against these Raiders. Both of the matchups coming up next. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in award winnings. Prize Picks has daily fantasy sports and makes it accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your money. Run your game all season long at Prize Picks. They make it simple, and they even invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out even if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. So sign up today and you can get $50 instantly when you play a $5 lineup. You don't even have to win to receive that 50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Download the Game Time app and use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and you're going to get $50 instantly after you play a $5 lineup. Super simple. Download that app, use our code LOCKEDONNFL, and get that 50 bonus for playing a $5 lineup. Super easy over at Prize Picks.
Pre-alcohol probiotic drink by Z Biotics is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Here's how to use it. Step 1, drink pre-alcohol. For best results, make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Step 2, drink responsibly. Pace yourself, hydrate, and get a good night's sleep. Step 3, enjoy tomorrow. Wake up feeling refreshed and ready to take on the day. Go to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Locked On NFL at checkout. Z-Biotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL at checkout for 15% off.
There are plenty of matchups that have to get won if you're going to play the Raiders. And I know we haven't talked about the Raiders much because of all the wide receiver trade stuff going on. But this rivalry is also not being talked about as much because it's not much of a rivalry. This is a team the Chiefs are about to play that is in disarray. They've lost one of their two mediocre quarterbacks. They're going to start one of them. And I am going to bet that at some point the Chiefs are even going to see Desmond Ridder, who's been in there maybe 13 hours longer than DeAndre's been in Kansas City. Like, that's how bad this offensive quarterback play has been. I don't think that they can put up points in any way that makes me nervous, but there is always that rivalry factor, and they do have a tendency to raise their game. They're the last team to beat this team. So What does that tell you about where this is, and what are you worried about?
Well, the funny thing is I talked about this on the crossover. Kansas City's undefeated in Allegiant, even in the Super Bowl. So thank you for that, Las Vegas. Appreciate that. And Q and I were talking about this on the crossover. They haven't lost since they played him on Christmas. They haven't lost a single game since Christmas. To me, and I said this on the crossover as well, I'd love to see him lose in Arrowhead to the Raiders again, if it means doing what they did the last time they lost to the Raiders in Arrowhead. I'll take that loss. Yeah, I'll take that loss. Don't care.
Yeah.
What it means to me, though, is, you look at this game, and one of the biggest matchups to me, obviously, is always going to be Max Crosby against whoever he ends up lining up against. And he's generally been going up against a guy like Juwan Taylor. The thing that is interesting, though, is just before we started recording, we went and checked the injury report, and he didn't practice. He was a full participant on Wednesday, didn't practice with an ankle injury on Thursday. Now, it's Max Crosby. He hates the Chiefs. This is not going to be something where I think he misses the game. But if he has an ankle injury, that's going to help the Kansas City Chiefs, and the matchup becomes a little bit easier.
Yeah, I agree.
And I hate injuries.
Look at what else they have. Yeah, no, it takes away from what your roster should be. It is part of the game, but it does take away from how you build and how you work, and especially a talent like Max Crosby. Don't get me wrong. Max is a pain in the butt, but if you tell me 6 months from now he's a Chief, I'm happy as a clam. I mean, let's
he's the one player in the division I would take without a doubt.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. Although I'd put Pat Surtain next to McDuffie any day. Anyway, but when you subtract Max, even if he does play, obviously not healthy, he had to miss an entire practice. He has had some nagging injuries going on. I believe it's ankle related, but I don't know what's going on today yet because we don't have a full report. But if you take him away, you have Chase on out there, you have Tyree Wilson, you have Charles Snowden, all of whom could not generate any pass rush last week against the Rams. And the Rams offensive line is nowhere near the Chiefs offensive line. So it really is, for me, the engine that starts their defense. And if Max is not able to go in any proximity to what he usually is, this just allows, I think, the Chiefs to have even more time and comfort in working DeAndre Hopkins into the offense, because I think they'll be able to run it well, and I think they'll be able to pass the ball around the yard better than they have.
Well, and you're looking also at a team that doesn't have Christian Wilkins, who is a huge piece in their defense. He's not going to be in this game. He's out on IR. So that's a huge piece that the Raiders are going to be missing. I agree with you. I think that if they don't have Crosby, or if he's able to go, but he's still limited in some regards, that's going to take some of the luster off a rivalry game. The other thing that I think is going to play into this is I'm pretty sure anybody that was here last year on Christmas is pissed off about that loss. So pretty sure that's going to be on their minds. I have no doubt in my mind that they're going to be ready to go in this game against this Raiders team. And one of the other things that really sticks out to me is don't forget about Kermit the Frog that came out at Raiders training camp. I think that's also going to be addressed in this game by Patrick Mahomes. So I am looking forward to that. The one thing I will say, I agree with you. I think that, you look at Gardner Minshew, he does not scare me. One of the things that we talked about in the crossover is he turns the ball over a lot. I think that plays into Kansas City's favor, obviously, but they haven't been great at getting turnovers. So is it going to be something they can continue to do? They got 3 last week. It'd be great to see if they could do that this week against a much lesser talent than Brock Purdy. But to me, it's, Brock Bowers. I mean, he's their weapon on offense. You look at the rest of their offensive playmakers, Jacoby Myers probably isn't going to play. He was limited on Wednesday, did not practice on Thursday. And generally speaking, when you have a situation where you go from not practicing limited into not practicing, you're probably not going to be heading into playing on Sunday. And I know we talked about Max earlier being full practice on Wednesday and did not practice on Thursday. He's a little bit different because of how much he hates the Chiefs. He's done it before. He's been doubtful and still played against Kansas City because he doesn't want to miss that game.
Yeah, I'm with you. The worst player on the Raiders field last week was Gardner Minshew. Let's be real. So that does diminish the threat of Brock Bowers, but Brock Bowers is the key to this ballgame for Las Vegas Raiders. Whether Minshew pulls out a rabbit or whether it's Desmond Ridder, if you can get quarterback play that can get him the ball, he has the matchup advantage. He has the size on Justin Reed, who I think they'll try to pair with him, at least initially. And he's able to run away from all of the linebackers, including Leo, who's been playing really, really well. Bowers still has an edge in terms of straight line speed there. So for me, the game plan revolves around taking away Bowers and letting him do whatever else they feel that they need to try to do.
Well, and even if he gets 120, 130 yards yesterday, even if he gets 150 to 160 yards, I don't think that they have any other pieces on this offense that are going to scare you. If he is their entire offense, which is what I expect it to be, because they don't really have a great running game. They're not running the ball well. They don't have pass catchers outside of Jacoby Myers. They traded off Devontae Adams. Their offense is really going to be hurting. I'm not going to say that they're not going to be fired up and they're not going to be ready for a division rival, but their receivers are players that the Chiefs should be able to handle.
Yeah, I agree. It comes down to winning that matchup, those two matchups. Bowers on their offense and Max on their defense. That's what it comes down to. But there's always something else that can play into the outcome of a game. Those X factors and our predictions coming up next. Hey there, NFL fans. You can get started right now with a big return with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Takes the life out of your middle there. And so when you have that hunch in the middle of a ball game or in the middle of the day on a packed Sunday with a full slate, you can check the latest stats, check out the live play-by-play, and get that so deep into the game that you can make your decisions and go on the same page to place your bets. Makes life super simple. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. It's over at FanDuel. There's a lot of options there, especially when Patrick's throwing interceptions early or we're running the ball really good. You never know what's going to happen, but if you have a gut feeling, check it out at FanDuel.com. Always excited for this week. And if you want more, you can get it at KC Chiefs Corner, where Chris is doing all his work. NFL 33 and RGR football for me. Now, there's always somebody that could stand out. Somebody could get a wild hair. And that's what you have to guard for in a game like this. The Chiefs have let themselves down against this team in the past. For me, there's no way that Ameer Abdullah and Zamir White should be able to do anything against this particular defensive front. But if you fall asleep, if you're not filling your gaps, if you're not staying sound assignment, I do think that White can exploit that for sometimes. So as long as you're awake when you hit that field, you should be good. But if you fall asleep, I think White's a guy that could exploit you, and you got to be careful of that.
Yeah, I can see that. I have a hard time believing this defense is going to fall asleep against the Raiders. Losing on Christmas, I don't think that felt set well with anybody that was on this team. And most of the people that are going to be on the defensive side for Kansas City played in that Christmas game, and they actually pretty much did their job that week because Patrick Mahomes threw a pick six and turned the ball over several times that led directly to Raiders scores. So you're in a situation where the defense mainly did what it needed to do and still lost. I don't think that's going to be the case this week. When I look at X factors for this game, I want to see more from Mecole Hardman, and I want to see more from Xavier Worthy. I want to see them take a shot to Xavier Worthy, and it's interesting because I don't remember specifically his first deep shot that Xavier Worthy caught a touchdown against the Chargers. Was that the first play out of half?
I want to say yes.
Because the deep shot they took against this past week was the first play out of half. So I don't know that that's going to be a trend that's going to continue, but it was interesting to me because I know it was really close to that, around that first play out of half scenario. So we'll see if that continues, but I do think that Kansas City needs to work on that, and it may not be something that they need in this game, but really the deal is for me is they need to get on the same page. Mahomes needs to dial in on the deep ball with Worthy. And this is a game where if you take 2 or 3 shots, even if you don't hit one of them, you should still be able to move the chains enough to where taking a deep shot or two, an extra deep shot or two, isn't going to keep you from scoring enough points to win.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, the X factor on the other side for me is no matter who it is, whether it's those guys, whether it's Justin Watson, I'd like to see get into this, obviously DeAndre Hopkins. The X factor in the negative for the Raiders for me is going to be a guy that has a lot of talent physically, but has not been mentored, has not been coached up well enough. Ja'Cory Bennett is not playing well right now. He's been lucky to this point because he can rely on his athleticism. And I think his over-exuberance at times, something that I saw on film when he was at Maryland, I do think that can play into it. So I think that there's an opportunity there for that right side of their defense, meaning the left side of the Chiefs offense, to have an opportunity.
I'm going to throw a wild card out and say that my other X factor is going to be FAU. And I'm going to say that because I don't think Dana is going to play this week. It looks like he's probably going to be out. Did not practice again 2 days in a row, Wednesday and Thursday. So I'd imagine he's probably out this week, and that's fine. FAU needs more playing time. He played pretty well against the 49ers. He's not getting a ton of pressure right now, but he is doing his job in the run game. And when you go back and watch last year, they couldn't play him against the run most of the time because he was getting washed out and he was getting pushed out of position. And I know that that's not what you want him to be doing, and that's not that's not what you want his focus to be. But his growth to be able to come in and be a run defender and stand up to one of the best run blockers in the game in Trent Williams last week and get hit by a tight end and still make a play shows how much he's grown as a defensive end, learning how to set the edge. I'm not saying he's fantastic at it, but he has grown so much, and it is key for him to continue to evolve and get a ton of snaps this week and be an X factor in this game.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Like, let him eat a little bit, give him that space. At the same time, I want to see Cam Thomas play more than 3 snaps.
Oh,
please, Spags, can we start to ramp up a little bit there, pal? I would appreciate that. In the end, I don't see how this can be a contest. If it is, then you guys can write this down and I'll be wrong and I'll enjoy it. It'll be just fine. But I see this as
I will enjoy it.
A thorough butt kick at the end of the day. Well, you'll enjoy me being wrong, right? It'll be fine.
I'll enjoy you being wrong, but I'm not going to enjoy you being wrong about that because this game shouldn't be close.
No, it shouldn't.
Patrick Mahomes and going up against Gardner Minshew, this shouldn't be a close game. The Raiders don't have weapons. Devontae Adams is gone. Brock Bowers is probably going to be their biggest pass threat that they have. And the other key to this game in a way is get Najee Johnson and Joshua Williams and Christian Roland Wallace more time at corner because they're going to need it the rest of the season. So that's also going to be a big thing. To me, I look at this game, Kansas City should run away with it. It should be a 2-score game. This should be another comfortable win for them. Whether or not that happens is going to be up to the Raiders and if they show up for a divisional game or not, because obviously these tend to be closer games than they really should be. I'm still going to go, I think, Kansas City 28, Raiders 13.
It's not far off of my gap as well. I do think you got to spend a little bit more time getting your weapons going when you have the opportunity. So I don't see Patrick pulling off the gas or anything like that. I think you have to take advantage when you can, especially given the season to this point. So I do think they push it. I think Carson Steele gets a few more carries. I think he gets right. I don't think you have to rely on Hunt quite as much, but in the past game, you just spread around and you go after it. I think they score 31 points. I think they give up 16. I'll spot them an extra field goal just to be different than you because 13 was my number. But that's what we think. What do you think? If you would leave your predictions down in the comments, we would love that. We'd like to see them. It is always fun when it's Raider week. We're going to have another one of these, but everything goes into getting this next W. Can't look past it. What do you think is going to happen? We're looking forward to it. Make sure you like, sub, hit the bell. Hit us on our other sites where Chris is doing his work on his Substack at KC Chiefs Corner. I'm at NFL33.com as well as RGRfootball.com. We appreciate you being with us. Enjoy your weekend as you get ready for this ball game and get ready for whooping up on the Raiders yet one more time. Make sure that you're with us. We will be live post-game as we always are for the debut of DeAndre Hopkins, the newest Kansas City Chief. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you then.